Hi everybody, this is Ebony Love and I'm back with another video for the AccuQuilt die cutting system. This particular video is actually one in a three-part series on showing you how to mark your dies. The first thing that I'm going to go over in this video is the tools that you need to mark your dies, and then I'll show you how to, in particular, mark the strip cutters. These tips apply to both the Studio and the Go die cutter. So as you watch this series, you're going to see me use a mixture of Studio and Go dies. The tips apply to both sets of dies, but if there's a particular tip that's specific to a die cutter, I'll call it out as I run through that die. So first, the tools of the trade. The first thing you need, of course, is your strip cutter. The second thing you need is an acrylic ruler, the same ruler that you would use in rotary cutting. And the third thing you need, if I would have left it on the table, is a marker. I prefer to use Sharpie. My preferred marker is the silver Sharpie. Some people like to use black Sharpies, but I find that when I'm marking my dies, the silver shows up a lot better for me. And on the Studio dies in particular, the foam is a darker color, so it's closer to black. So the silver Sharpies actually show up a lot better on the Studio dies. The silver Sharpies are not they're not carried in every store. I find mine at a local Walgreens, so you may have to order the silver ones online or stop by your Walgreens and see if they carry them. As you mark your dies, so this is a strip die. This is the 4.5-inch strip cutter for the Studio, or one of them. The first thing that I do when I mark my dies is I actually mark the lines of the blades. So to do that, what you'll want to do, and I do have my blades marked here, but what I find is that if I can get the tip of the Sharpie in between the foam blades, I can just drag the Sharpie along the blade and it will just mark that really quickly. So again, just inserting the tip of the marker inside the foam on top of the blade, you can just drag it along and it will draw that line. Once you have those lines marked, the next marks you want to draw are the ends or the edges of your blades. So you do this for two reasons. One, so that you can align the fold of the fabric with the blade, and the second reason is so that you know where your blade ends, so you don't put your fabric past that point. And what I like to do is, and I know you can't see this on the video, but if you locate the very tip of your blade and you want to align your ruler just inside that line, so you're going to lose, maybe in a 1/16 of an inch of blade on the end there, but it's really important that you not put your fabric past the edge of the die because you won't get full cuts. Ask me how I know. So draw your straight line again, aligning the ruler with the die blade, not the edge of the die, but the die blade, and this is going to be important in the next series of videos. So you want to draw that line on one end, and then repeat the same thing on the other end of the die. And what that's going to do for you is it's going to give you the ability to run your die through either side of the machine, whichever way it's going, and not have to worry about the direction that it's facing. The next set of lines that I draw is the squares. So the strip cutter can actually be used for several purposes, not just for cutting strips. So if you mark some additional lines on the strip cutters, you can get some additional shapes, and I'll show you what those are. So the next set of lines that I draw are I snap additional lines at the width of the die itself. So this is a 4.5-inch strip cutter, so I want to mark lines about 4.5 inches across. Now these dies are not made to be evenly spaced. So what I do is I draw a couple of lines from each end of the blade. So again, I'm aligning at my 4.5-inch mark here. So I had the straight line at the end of the blade. I'm going to mark 4.5 inches in there. And so I might draw a couple from this direction. but then I also want to do the same thing from the other direction. Now these aren't necessarily where your squares are going to be, because you can overlap these. What these are alignment marks. So if you wanted to lay strips from the center, you can do that. If you wanted to start them from the end, you can do that too. So to cut squares with your strip cutters, you do one pass to cut the strip, then you rotate the strip. So imagine this is my strip and I'm going to cut this way, then I'm going to rotate the strip 90 degrees and lay it across this way, aligning it with this edge, and that's going to give me squares when I run it back through. The last set of lines that I recommend you mark are the lines for the diamonds. So there's two types of diamonds. There's a 60-degree diamond and a 45-degree diamond. And the diamond that you cut determines how many, so if you were doing a star, you'll either get an 8-pointed star or a 6-pointed star, depending on whether it's a 60-degree diamond or a 45-degree diamond. And there are some additional videos out on YouTube that show you how to cut diamonds with your strip cutter. So I'm just going to show you how to mark the lines. So most acrylic rulers have 60-degree and 45-degree lines. So what you want to do is find your 60-degree line on your strip cutter, and this can be a little bit tricky, but you want to align the 60-degree line with the edge of the blade. So my 60-degree line is this one here. So I'm going to align that with that is the straight edge, so I'm going to align that with the die blade again. And you can see my ruler is laid across the die, and that's where I'm going to mark my 60-degree line. What I also do, which you can't see on the video, but there's a little 60 degrees written on top of the foam. This doesn't hurt the foam. It's not going to hurt your cutting at all, but I mark this line so I know that this is my 60-degree line. The next line that you want to draw, and I draw these apart just so I get some distance between these. The next line is the 45-degree line. So again, find the 45-degree line on your ruler, lay that and align that straight edge with the edge of your die blade, and draw your 45-degree line across the blade. So when you align your strips, again, you're going to lay your strips aligned with the edge of the blade here at the 45-degree line, and then you can you don't need to draw all the 45-degree lines. You can just line up the edges as they go across the die. So that's how you mark the strip cutters. Again, these tips apply to both the Studio and the Go cutters, so feel free to use this for both purposes. All right, stay tuned for part 2.